Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record every Mondays at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time. If you enjoy the channel, please hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel. Turn notifications on and you will get an email link with this full episode. And if you want to submit to this show, take a look at the information in the description.
I'm going to go over a 1-3 hand from the summer from Hollywood Speedway Casino.
Okay. Is that in Kansas City?
Yeah, in Kansas City.
Okay.
That was a wild game.
Didn't get a chance to get over there. I went to Ameristar, and obviously I stayed at Harris, North Kansas City. I actually played a huge Omaha 8 game at Ameristar, which is just weird that it just went off. It happened to be, but I didn't get over to the Speedway. So 1-3, is it a match the stack or?
No, it's a 1-3 300. They run a 2-5 like once a week, and then they run a 1-2-5 PLO every once in a while.
Okay.
But it's 1-3 300. Usually plays a little bit bigger, but in this hand we're only 250 effective.
Okay, so 250 effective.
So I'm 250. I have aces under the gun. Main villain is 40s, Asian, really aggressive. I'm kind of on a little bit of winner's tilt this session. Just that's something to keep in mind. He has had a couple of spots where I thought I could get over aggressive, and he's raised me. Just I don't know with what, but because I was weak.
Yeah.
Anyway, I open a 15, get main villain calls in the hijack, and there's one other caller in between us.
So like in MP calls or something? MP1 calls?
Yeah, I think it's an MP.
Okay.
There's two callers. The flop is 9-7-4 with two clubs, and I have the ace of clubs. That plays into this hand, especially on the river.
So I'm going to put you as ace of clubs, ace of diamonds. I remember you emailing this hand, and this actually kind of leads into what I just talked about a little bit before with Dave. So 9-7-4, two clubs. What did you do?
I checked,
Okay.
and it checks through. If I had not the ace of clubs, I definitely would have bet.
So what you are saying, and this is why I think plays right into what I was saying to Dave. Maybe I had this hand subconsciously in my head, but what you're saying is it's sound in the sense that if you want to pick certain overpairs to sometimes check, you would, to maybe protect your checking range, the best one to do it with would be aces, right? Because it doesn't need protection. And then if you have the ace of clubs, it's even better. You're not losing value against nut flush draws. You can call across club turns. So that's the theory behind it. I don't think it's really, I wouldn't play this hand this way almost ever unless there was a real reason where you thought that this Asian guy, who I guess is the primary villain, was going to blast off or something.
Yeah, I guess my thought about it is that definitely I think in that I wanted people to catch up a little bit. And if the main villain in the hijack had bet small, I could check raise easily.
Yeah, but do you want to check raise off like a 7 or a 9? I mean, the problem with check raising is it would suck if a guy with like 5-7 of hearts here just bet folds, right? It gets checked to this guy and he bets like 20 and you make it 55 and he just folds. I would rather just come out and bet. I think that those hands are going to be called. That's the thing with low stakes live poker. People are calling more than they're betting, and they're making big calling mistakes. If you want to like dink and dunk a little bit, I mean, you can do that. I would still tend to bet 25 or 30, but as an alternative to checking, I would just bet small, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, and one of the main takeaways I had from this hand, when we get to the river too, is just that I overthought it.
Okay. All right, so it gets checked through.
So we're still 45 to the turn,
which
is an offsuit 10.
Okay.
And now I want to bet, obviously, for value. And I want to bet to price out the draws. I bet 40.
So 10 doesn't put a backdoor out here. So I'm going to say 9 of diamonds,
no, it doesn't.
7 of clubs, 4 of clubs, turns a 10 of spades. Okay.
And then MP folds.
So what did you do?
Calls.
What did you do?
I bet 40. 40 into 45.
So now you bet pot here. And again, I mean, the interesting thing here is that now it doesn't, I just don't see a lot of people like bluff ace king now. You see what I'm saying? Like it's like you'd almost lose so say for example a guy has like pocket fives here, pocket sixes, 6-7, something like that, 4-5 suited. You're going to get the value on the flop. I feel like if I had checked back, if I was in the middle and I checked 6-7 or something like that, and it got checked through, and now you blast a 10 turn, I'm just folding. So that's just more reason why I would bet the flop at these stakes. Okay, so you bet
Mhm.
40.
And he calls.
And so MP1 folds.
The MP1 folds, hijack calls.
All right, hijack calls. Okay. So now the pot is 125, right?
80 and 125
Okay.
or minus 120 with the rake.
Yeah, so you guys have about 200 left. Okay, go through the river.
And the river's in Brick King.
Okay.
I think it was it doesn't matter what suit it is, I guess.
Okay. That's not a good card in the sense that it's not a good card in the sense that it's unfortunately you're going to get a lot of folds out of like the weaker portions of ranges, right? Also, Queen Jack comes in here. But I would definitely still bet. There was no backdoor that was put out here, which is also interesting because if you were to ask me, hey Bart, would you ever check to induce a bluff in certain situations? It wouldn't be on like overcards that sort of hit your range. But if a backdoor had appeared, like maybe occasionally you check here to check call against a backdoor sort of flushing type of hand that might have picked up on the turn. But all the weak pairs are just going to fold out here usually when you bet, which means that you could actually sort of take an exploitable approach here to this hand where you bet smaller for value, you bet larger as a bluff. I'm trying to think of what hands you would start a bluff with here, like if you had like an ace. See, it's hard for me to pick out a hand that you're starting a bluff with, on the turn. Like if you had
clubs.
8-8, yeah, but 10-8 of clubs wouldn't need to bluff the river.
And wouldn't raise under the gun.
Well, if you had 8-8 or something, and you thought that you needed to bet him off a 9 or a 7. I guess you could go crazy large here at the end, but just in general, I'm not going to get super tricky with it. I'm going to bet for value. It just sucks for sort of that value range because if like the river had paired the 4, I think that you can bet on the larger side. You can get called a lot. So what did you do?
I bet 60. And
okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This kind of looks like a way more than I thought at the table is a way ahead, way behind kind of scenario because he does raise. He raised me all in. And
hold on a second. What's a way ahead, way behind scenario? The river or the raise?
If he raises, when he raises, when I put out the bet, it's I don't want to play for stacks because if I bet, he's going to fold all his bluffs and there's not going to be hardly any bluffs, if at all, in his raising range.
All right. So Andrew, right? Andrew's your name. This is where I definitely, it's a good question, right? And this is why we call on the show. I definitely disagree with you that this spot is way ahead, way behind. You get a lot of value by betting medium strength, one pairish types of hands, especially the way that you play this at the low stakes. Like way ahead, way behind would be a scenario where you can't get called by worse. I don't buy that. What about if he has like King Queen, which picked up a gut shot on the turn on 9-7-4-10? Yeah. It's not way ahead, way behind, especially not with your sizing. Now, if the pot was 125 and you moved all in for 700, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense with ace-ace, which is a hand that you can get some value from, and you're not going to get called by worse. But you're betting half the size of the pot. This is just bread and butter. Bread and butter, and it's usually going to be an approach to bet fold. So you bet 60 and he jammed. Is that what happened?
Yeah, he jams for 210. 210 total.
So he jams for 210. So you bet 60 into 185. That's 180. That's 60 into 125. So that's 185. He jams for 210. So the pot's going to be like 400, and it's about 150 for you to call.
Yeah.
This isn't a very under bluff spot here at 1-3. I can count the number of times on one hand where this is going to, where you see a bluff raise at the end here on the river. The other thing too is that you have, obviously, you have the ace of clubs here. So he didn't bet the flop. It's unlikely he's got like a flush draw. In order for this guy to be bluffing here, and we've talked about this is a great like little tool in low stakes hand reading, he almost needs to be turning a pair into a bluff here. And you just don't see that. So let me give you an example. Say he had 7-8 that checked through on the flop. Turn, it picked up open-ended, bottom-end open-ended, and he called. Okay, even though yeah, because the MP1 guy folded in front of him and he didn't bet the flop. Now that's a hand maybe that he knows is not going to have showdown value and he jams on you. But that doesn't happen at the low stakes. Whenever you get into a situation where in order for the guy to be bluffing, he has to be turning some pair into a bluff, it's very underbluffed at the low stakes. I mean, this can be all the queen jacks, right? It can be possibly even kings up if he's sort of sizing you as like having ace king or something like this. I'm just overfolding the spot all day long. I mean, you're getting like 2.5 to 1 ish, but I just in general, you're not going to be good here 1 out of 3.5 times.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And
Yeah.
I think it's a bad combination of I ended up snapping him off after I checked my cards and saw that I did have the ace of clubs. But I think it was just a combination of the tilt and the player, and it was definitely not. If I didn't have the ace of clubs, I know I could have folded easily.
So so let me ask you this question. Why do you think the ace of clubs makes this a snap call?
I think that he has. I think it was a bad call. Now that I look, I think it was a bad call at the table. The ace of clubs made a difference because I thought he would have.
I'm just saying that you're not looking,
No.
from my perspective with blockers, you're not really looking at it the right way. It's actually worse for you to have the ace of clubs here. First of all, it's not all that relevant based upon the flop play because it got checked around and you're not really seeing many people check the nut flush draw back. But if you were in another scenario where the guy went bet, 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 right? If you didn't have the ace of clubs, it would be better because he could be bluffing with it.
Could have more busted flush draws.
Yeah. So you having the ace of clubs here is actually worse if you're looking at it from that perspective. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, all right. So you called him. What did he show down?
He turned over Jack Queen of Hearts for the
Makes a lot of sense.
open end. He was open-ended. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. He can just have all the queen jacks, right? You know, I mean, it's like yeah. I mean, or like I said, queen jack or king 10. I think makes a whole lot. I mean, the thing at the small stakes, he should be jamming king 10 at these stack depths. I think that sometimes people will call king 10's a slam dunk jam, based upon the way I feel like that this hand is played out. Now, some people might say, well, people aren't betting aces or ace king enough here on the river that you're almost representing a hand that's better than king 10 by continuing to bet the river. Therefore, the guy should just call with king 10. That's a subtle argument, but this guy's going to have all the queen jacks here. But I think you might have gotten a little bit confused with the blocker thing at the end. But just in general, Andrew, just straightforward play is going to win you the most money at these levels. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.